today I'm going to give a some simple demonstration about Python and basically its introduction and where it is applied and why it is so popular. So we'll discuss the uh, yeah, concepts of Python in this demonstration. So basically, today there are so many languages, programming languages. So as per records, there are so many thousands of languages. But commercially, there are like hundreds in the market, right? So among them, today the most popular language is Python. So why this has been popular? There are two main reasons. One is it's a very simple language, so that's why this language has been introduced to the even school kids also. So Python is a general purpose programming language. Basically, it can be applied in several areas, whatever it might be. In the IT industry, we have several areas where we can, use this Python. Whether you want to develop a web application or a Windows application, or you want to do networking, or you want to do automation work, so whatever it is. So today there is a popular buzzword that is that is called as data science, right? So this is one of the popular fields since 10 years. Data science has been so these are the companies famous. They use Python for their, yeah, so they use their for their in-house projects and also for other projects. So, okay, let's come to our PPT and let's discuss about the features. So, this is something like historical aspect of Python. So, it has been Python was invented before Java itself in 1991 by Guido van Rossum. Okay, so these points I have already we have used in almost every application in the IT industry, right? Okay, so let's come to the features of. So here, let's discuss one point. So these are, what you are seeing on this slide is not limited. There are so many roles that you can play after learning Python. So, but these are the, some of the main important career aspects. So after completing Python, you can, go as a web application developer. So for that, you have to learn Django framework or Flash. So we can also go into the QA, quality analysis, that area where if you learn Selenium after Python, then you can be a QA manager and other roles. So for data science, data scientist, data analyst, data engineer, and there are so many roles that you can play, right? So these are some of the most important careers that you can have after as learning Python. Okay, so here these are some of the features. We'll discuss only very important features, not all these. Okay, so the Python is, it is interpreted language. The basic thing is, see, one thing is whenever you write down a code in any language, and when you run the code, there are two things that will happen. One is uh, your code will be converted to some kind of intermediate language, and then during that process, there will be a syntax check or check for any errors, right? So these all these come into the compilation, right? And then your intermediate language will be converted to machine understandable language, right? So that is native and language, so that your machine, your system will understand, right? So that is the execution. So these are the two processes. So these two processes happens are independent, right? So any other programming language, you have to first compile and then execute. For Python, both these processes happen at the same time in one shot, right? So that's why Python is an interpreted language. Okay. And of course, it is platform independent. Here, platform means it is the operating system. Python is, it is easily, you can easily install on any operating system, not only Windows, whether it is a Solaris or Macintosh, Mac operating system or Linux or whatever it is, right? And the Python one of the biggest advantages, it is totally free. You don't have to purchase any license. Okay. High level language, a lot of languages are high level languages. So similarly, Python is also high level language. Okay, so what is the meaning of high level means? Whatever the intricate and internal activities, you don't have to take care. That means you don't have to write down the code for that. For example, I will tell you, suppose you are writing a code, you have written a code and you are executing that. So immediately what happens, it will suppose you have declared some variables in that, right? So a variable is nothing but it is an object. It is an object which stores some value, right? So just like you write down some information on a paper, right? So similarly, in a programming language, variables store some value, right? So these kind of objects, for that the system will create some memory internally, right? And soon after your program execution completes, so these are all internal activities, right? So for that you don't have to write down your engine at the background for every language, right? So that engine takes care of. So you don't have to take care of the low level activities, right? So that's why Python is also high level language. Okay, so we have Java also, which is also one of the high level languages, right? And of course, simple code. See, earlier, if you want to learn Java or C hash, so the prerequisite was you have to learn C or C++ and then OOPS concepts and all those things, right? Now, for Python, if you go to any institute, any company, uh, the only prerequisite is that if you know English, right? So that is you are ready to learn the Python. So that simple is the Python language, right? So here you have to keep one thing in mind. So learning Python is very easy, but to become a professional in Python is not as simple, right? So learning Python is very easy, right? So you have to work on the language. You have to spend hours if you want to be a professional developer. Okay. Now here there is one important point here, as we have discussed, rich library support, right? So we have Python Software Foundation. They are they are maintaining the Python language. So in that there are so many pool of developers and experts who are contributing to the library, right? So that's why it is very supportive to the data science projects. Okay. Okay. So these are the features. Now let's see the code actually, right? So for any language, there will be suppose practically suppose you want to play football, then you will need a ground, right? Football ground. Okay. So if you want to swim, then you need a swimming pool, right? So similarly, for any programming language, if you want to write down a code, there will be a IDE, Integrated Development Environment. Okay. So that is a platform where you will write down that particular code. Okay. So for every programming language, you will have a particular ID. So for Python, there are so many IDs. Even you have IDs online. Okay. But there are some IDs which are standardly used by the industry. Uh, that is, this is what you are seeing on the screen is Jupyter, right? So this is one of the IDs that we can write down Python code. Of course, Jupyter is mostly used by the for the data science projects. But when you are learning Python, this will be one good ID, okay? Because it runs on a server, okay? So you can also install. You can Google Jupyter and then you can install. It is very easy. Or else you can also run the code on Jupyter.org. Okay. So the official site for Python is python.org. Right, right. Okay, fine. Oh, okay. Here, as you can see, print is also a function. Type is also a function. So basically, what is this function? So function is, in any software language, it's a very important concept. they are said to be the first class objects of any programming language, right? So basically, a function is nothing but a set of statements, okay, written under some name, right? So they will have their own functionality, right? So you can write down your own user-defined function, or there will be some inbuilt function. Okay, so I'll show you how to write down the function moving forward. So here, first let's see some of the some simple programs. So for example, now we have discussed about the variables. So we have seen the different types of data types, right? So not all, but some of the important data types. So most usually in any program, string, integer, float, boolean. So what is boolean is? A boolean is a data type, which takes a value of true or false, right? Only two. So that is also very important data type. Most of the projects, you might be needing that kind of data type. Okay. So here, uh, right. So we have different kinds of operators. So it could be a mathematical arithmetic operator. So all the operators that are there in the mathematics that you have learned in your school or college level, they're also, you can use those operators. So apart from that, you have the relational operator. So what is relational operator? The greater than and less than, okay, as you can see on my screen, and greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, right? So all these operators you can use for these variables. Okay, so for example, you can see most of the languages, they are case sensitive. Okay, similarly Python is also a case sensitive. So once you give some value, say for example here you have Kolkata, and here also B variable, you have Kolkata, but the difference is that you have capital K and small k here, right? So Python is a highly case sensitive language. So even one character, if it is a different one, then it will show the difference, right? So here, uh, so we have seen how to print a simple statement, right, in Python, right? Sometimes what happens is we have to supply some information to the program. Like for example, you might have already using accessing your Gmail, right? So what you will do when you open a Gmail, so you will be given, you will see a text box to put your email ID and then password, and then there will be a button, right? Submit button. So when you enter the your email ID, so at the background there will be some function which will receive that in email ID, right? So here in Python, this is the input function, right? This will receive some information from the user. Okay, so all these are very important. So here input is a function which will receive, which will prompt you to enter some value, right? So here what I have given is I have declared some variable y and equated to a function input. Okay, so input is a function which will prompt us to enter some value, right? So by default, when you give some value, it will be assigned to y, the variable y, but the value will be in the form of a string, right? So for example, see here, I am running this program. You see here, see, enter a number. It has prompted us to enter some value. So I am passing, I'm giving y 5. Okay. So here what is happening is, okay, some error has come, right? I will tell you why that error is. So since I told you the y is being assigned as a equal to 5, but that is in the form of a string, right? So any you can you see the string value can be anything under double quotes, right? Now here I am doing some kind of operation, so that is not acceptable for a string value, right? So I am saying x is equal to y. That means I have declared x equal to y. So x is equal to again 5, right? So here, so here you see I have written small case y. So now let's see. Okay, so you see here class str. So that 5 value is nothing but y equal to 5. So y value is equal to string kind of data type, right? So print type of x. So type of x is, since it has been assigned to a string variable, string value. So that is a string. X is also, it is a string. And then so what I am doing is I am doing typecasting. So typecasting is nothing but so here you can see here int of y. So what I am doing is y is actually string kind of data type, right? So I am typecasting it, right? So let's run and see now. Now what is the x? It is integer. So what is happening here is there is a concept called typecasting or conversion, right? Now what is type conversion? So suppose you have one kind of data type and you can convert that data type into another, but not all the data types can be converted into respective, I mean, other data types. Okay, so that is a very important concept in programming. When you are learning programming any language, so here in Python, uh, mostly all the data types can be converted into string because string is a very peculiar data type. Okay, so we'll see those that also going forward. Now the next is topic is data structures. Okay, so these data structures are nothing but, see, any language will have these topic data structures. They are nothing but they are the objects that store multiple values, right? So what is the difference between a variable and a data structure? A variable is a object where you can store a single value only. But data structures are, they are nothing but they are just like a container where you can store multiple values. Okay, so here data structure, like we have discussed earlier, when you have square brackets and then a lot of items like this, it is called as a list, right? So similarly, tuple. So when you have round brackets and then you have items like this, so each individual, value, you can refer it as an item. That is technically they refer like that, right? So 10, 20, 30, and 5, they are nothing but the items in this tuple T1. Okay. You can also write down simply without brackets also. Okay. So without brackets also, we can declare like this. Okay. So let's test it. I have written without brackets. Now I want to see what is the type of T2. Okay. So I am running it. See, type of T2 is tuple. Okay. So these are different, syntax terminologies that we will learn in the Python. Okay. So again, frozen set. See, set is also one type of data structure. You have curly brackets here, right? So each type of data structure will have their own unique advantage, right? But among these, there is one important data structure, that is the list. Among all the data structures, basically, if you see data structures, you have the list, you have the tuple, you have the set, okay, you have dictionary, and range. Of course, range is nothing but, it is nothing but a collection of list. Okay, starting from some number and ending to some number. Okay, and then again you have frozen set. Frozen set is nothing but it is one form of set only. There is only a very small difference here. Okay, so there is so each of these data structure will have their advantages. Okay, so dictionary is a data structure where you can store the data in the form of a key and value pair, right? So key and relevant value. Okay, so all these data structures we'll be learning in Python. They are very important as per the programming, I mean, project point of view. Okay, so there is one concept called in Python. mutability and immutability. Okay, so mutable means it is by default 80% of the objects in Python they are immutable. Okay, so some of the concepts are there objects which are mutable. That means mutable means what does that mean? You can change. They can the values can be changed, right? So mutable means they are prone to you can change them, right? So change the values. So list is one kind of mutable object. So for example, I have declared L1 is equal to these are the items here. Now what I can do is I can change the items, right? So, but when you try to change tuple is a immutable, right? So how to check the immutable and immutable concept is suppose let's take an example here. L1 equal to this and T1 equal to so I'll take these same items here, right? Now L1 is equal to 21, 35, 70 and 28. I want to change, right? Okay. So whatever, so you have a method called append. So in list, suppose if you want to add some more elements, you have append method. Okay, append method. So L1 dot append. Suppose I will add 100. Okay. So again print of L1. I am going to print off. So here what I will do is what we have discussed about mutable means. So once that object, once the object is declared, you can change its values or update or delete anything. Okay, you can modify that. So immutable means it is not able to be modified, right? So here there is one function called ID. Okay, so which will give the address. Okay, so what we have discussed earlier, whenever you are writing a code and executing, all your objects will be getting some memory address, right? So they will be there will be some memory address created in the RAM, right? So sorry, in your hard disk. Okay, so ID and then I'll give L1. So what? Let's check what is the ID here, right? So the same thing after I have changed here, I want to see what is that ID here. Okay. So now let's run this. So I'm running this. You see this is the memory address, right? So 77752. So even if I added one more item to this list, the address has not been changed. That means a list is a mutable, right? So the same thing you do one thing. Suppose I will modify this. See once it is immutable, you cannot add or delete elements, right? But I will try to do one thing. I will change the item. So 11. I'll change the first element and see 20, 30, and 5. Right. So here print ID of P1 and same thing I will use here also. Let's see whether these IDs are same. Okay. So I will run this one. You can see here these are the two memory addresses for both of them 28 and 68. So that is immutable. So if you forcefully change, then the address in that previous object will be destroyed and a new object will be created. So that's how you can explain the mutability and immutability. Okay. So this is a very important concept in Python, mutability and immutability. So that's why whenever you are working on a project, you need to carefully use these which for which you have to use list and for which you have to use tuple and all respectively. Okay, so this is about mutability and immutability. Now you can see here escape characters. So these are nothing for the string. They are, you can use as these for the formatting your data, right? So usually we will have a front end in your project. So you can decorate your data on the front end. For that, you can use these escape characters. Okay. So that is the thing. Now I will show you how to define a function here. Okay. I'll create a new cell. See, if you click on plus, and then here a new cell will be created. So uh, we are going to write down, define our own user defined function, right? So I'm going to define wish. Okay, wish is a our own defined function. Okay. So for a function, whenever you are going to declare a function, the keyword is a def. Okay. So now I have used the keyword, which is nothing but keyword is nothing but they are the reserved words in Python. Total in Python we have 33 keywords. Okay. Now here I am going to give some parameters, right? So name and message. Okay, MSG means message. So in Python we don't have much syntax to follow. There is only one syntax, that is called as indentation. So whenever you have these, you are using function or any other two three concepts, like for example loop, flow control statements. Okay, so we'll discuss those also moving forward. Now you have to put like this colon, and then the next line automatically there will be some space that will come, and after that you have to write down the your statements, right? So this is called as indentation, having some space horizontally, right? Now here I am defining a function. So this will contain def as which is mandatory, and your own function name, right? And then these are the parameters. Okay, they are optional. You can have a parameter or not necessary. Okay. So here what I will do is print uh, so MSG, and then name. Okay. Now that's all. You can also return any value to this function. That is also option. So return, what I will do is return 0. Okay. So that is optional. You can have or not. That is your wish, right? So how to call a function? You have declared your function. How to call a function? Simply just write down the function name and then pass on the values for the function, right? So here suppose Mahesh, and then message I'm going to give good evening. Okay, so simply so good evening Mahesh, and you see this function returned this zero value because I am returning zero. Okay, so this is the user way that you declare your user defined function. Okay, yeah, I suppose that's enough for the demo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It sounds good for me. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
yeah. How many hours is the course, sir?
yeah. Uh, Actually, this for this Python we have 40 hours.
Okay. Okay. What timings would it be? The class would be, sir?
Timings, I think it will be better. This timing will be preferable. Or else, in the morning also. That is, I mean, that's up to you.
Okay. 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 I prefer it to be like this time only. Uh,
Oh, okay.
I'll just confirm and tell you, sir. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
sure. Okay.
It was a nice
Yeah,
demo, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.